Hi guys, welcome back to my channel if you have lived. So my hubby and I are in our neighborhood park taking a stroll and having a free unfiltered conversation. We are going somewhere on this topic, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the other videos that will be following. And if you have any comments concerning the topic, please leave your comment for us. Some people leave their country for various reasons, right? Some want a better life, and some even they had to escape, run away because they have problems. But when someone is trying to go back home, what are some things that you think that they should consider when they turn in their eyes back to their home, wherever home is?
What do you mean when they're trying to go back home?
Like, okay.
You mean they're retiring and going back to their country where they're from?
Not
originally?
necessarily. So we have to, let's look at it from 3 points of view. Say they left their home when they were a child. What are some advice you would give to someone that's in their 30s and wanted to return back to their home? They leave their home as a child, say the age of a child, like say 3 or 4 or even 6.
Well,
and they want to return.
Well, a 6-year-old child or a 3-year-old child doesn't really know where. I know the basis of where they're from. Really, they probably were told where they're from. But at 6 years old or 3 years old, they don't have that reality of really where they're from as yet. They probably visit like me, like us. We visit Jamaica a lot, so we get to fall in love with Jamaica because we're always there. So if they return to their original country and visit it, and they may fall in love with it, and they were told, hey, this is where you were born, this is where you're originally from, and they fell in love with it and they want to go back home, good. But the real advice I would say to them, before you take that plunge and going home, know where you're going to. Okay. Because you need some foundation, you need some stability. You can't just see a country and just fall in love with it and say, I'm going to move to that country, or I'm going home to that country.
So what about those? Okay, so that's the 0 to 6 years old that they are now in their 30s and they're looking to go home. You're saying that they need to make sure they do research and find out about that country, because truly when they leave they had no idea of what that country is all about. So take it up a notch. Say the person leave their country at a teenage years, right, and now they are in retired age, okay, and they're looking to return. What are some things that they should consider? Well,
when you reach the retirement age, first of all, you have some stability, you have some grounds, you have some financial stability, and also you may be looking for a slower pace of life where you want to just say, this is
depending on where they're
from. And I want to settle down somewhere where I can retire, and because I'm no longer in the workforce. So again, the first thing you want to know before you move is that you have some place. There have to be some foundation. You have to have a home, in other words, because it doesn't matter how great a friend or great a family you have back home. You could stay with them for how long can you stay with them before they started to change or started to want for you to move? So you want to have your own place. You want to have your own foundation. You want to make sure that you're financially stable, because if you're retiring, you have to know that you have a retirement coming in. You have to know that and this is the stick a pin in this. You want to make sure that there's a safe place for you to return.
So for those that left their country, wherever that is, and they are thinking about returning at retirement age, my advice would be, make sure that you have stayed connected
to that place?
that you have been going back and forth and getting yourself familiarized with your country again.
Right.
But it can be a shock, because everywhere is progressing.
Or change. You probably left here 30 years ago.
Right.
40 years ago, you don't know exactly what it is anymore.
So you have to make sure that you are keeping up to date. I have known people that have left their country in their young adult, and they return way in their 70s, And when they go back at that age, they have no idea of the changes that take place.
Right.
So it's kind of hard. So my recommendation would be stay connected with your friends or family and make sure you visit as often as you possibly can, so you're not totally lost.
Or you just run into a culture
Right.
shock because there are, you have to understand the country may be evolved in different era, and there are changes that may happen that you're not aware of, or you may not even accept. So you need to you want to go back. You want to keep visiting that place.
And another thing that if you are, I would not recommend, and I wouldn't say steering a person from going home if they have reached retired age and said they want to go home. I would not recommend you taking that plunge if you have not been going back to your country.
Are there anywhere for that matter?
Yes, you have to, wherever it is that you decided to retire, you need to make sure that you are visiting as often as possible before you make that decision.
And do some research
Do some research.
at the country, the state, or the parish that you're living in, or the state that you're living in, or the village that you're going to be living in. You need to actually do some research on that particular place to make sure that it's welcoming, it's safe, and also that you know your surrounding. And it's good to make friends.
And it's
good friends.
It's good also to be mobile. So if you have migrated, right?
Yeah.
And some people, this is true for some people, that they have no family, close family from where they're coming from to return to. So, but they are toying with the notion of going home because that's where they're from. If you have left home and you have not been going back, you have no family members there, and you have friends, you have built a life where you are now, you have friends and some family in this country that
How
you're
are you?
in,
Hello.
then I would say to that person, you want to really think before you make that transition, because at this point it's just like leaving your home. At this point you're walking away from
What you know. Yes, things that you have familiarized with.
Yes.
And again, we don't want to scare anyone to say we actually.
No, but it's actually
it's the facts, really.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, we're making awareness. What we're doing right now, we're walking through our neighborhood park and just having a conversation about various things and things that you could do and what you want to do, because we're realizing that there's a lot of folks that is migrating back to their original home, where they're from, their country, where they're from, or there's a lot of folks.
And some have raised valued points that they are scared.
Yeah.
Based on
and again, not to cut you off, but there are folks that is leaving, even here in the United States, to different countries. As you know, we travel all over the world, and we have run into people who have left the United States to go to other countries. They have never been there. They just saw it online. Some of them been there one time, twice, or maybe even 3 times, and they love the place. Some people are just tired of the things that's happening here. Just
the 9 to 5 living.
9 to 5 living, and they're working forever just to pay the bills. So some people just want a slower pace of life. Some folks just tired of the system, just tired of the pressure, the problem, the constant working, and you're really just working really just to pay the bills. Some people just want to change in life too, and they want to move to a different place. So I would encourage anyone who wants to move or to leave, just take the plunge if you have to, but make sure you know what you're plunging into. Just don't jump off the deep end.
Yeah.
You think?
Yes, that's it. That's what I would say. Make sure, if you have that desire to return to your home, make sure that you are visiting as often as you possibly can. And don't go with the intent to live the same life that you are living
Here.
when you're thinking of going home, wherever home is for you.
Yes.
But know that home may be at a slower pace.
Because you remember, we're from New York, and when we moved to Atlanta, one of the problems that we're having is that New York is the fastest pace moving place. It's everything is just get up and go in New York. And one of the problems that we were facing when we moved to Atlanta is that everyone is telling us that, hey, you move from New York to Georgia for a slower pace of life or slow way of life. So go with the flow. I mean, dealt with the changes. So when you move to another country, you have to understand it's not the U.S. You are in a different place, and it's going to be a slower pace. Or like in the islands, when we go to Jamaica to visit, they always said, this is island time, right? So you have to adjust to whatever culture you're in. And one of the things that I don't like, it's very difficult for you to go to a country or another place and impose your culture or your ways or your lifestyle or your custom to them. Because if you understand, you're no longer in your country or what you're accustomed to. So when you move to, for instance, we're going to say Jamaica. If you move, because this is where we always visit them, if you move to Jamaica, you can't bring the U.S. culture and custom there. Because it's another country, it's Jamaica. If you move to Mexico, wherever you move to.
Like when we were in Costa Rica.
When we were in Costa Rica, yes.
They had, you were hoping that they'll have breakfast ready at a certain time. But that's not the case there. They're on a more slower pace. Even when we look at the comparison with Mexico.
Yeah.
Mexico was operating more on America time. They realized that, okay, let's give what they wanted or what they're accustomed
to. They were catering to tourism, because that's what they really live off.
But Costa Rica, on the other hand, they were so intertwined in their culture and the way of life that wasn't going to change. So
you have to change to their custom, to their way of life. And I like that. I believe that's it. They say when you go to Rome, you do what Rome does. I think there's a theory, So I believe that's a good thing to do. Whenever time you move to another place, you adapt to their custom or to their changes. You don't actually bring your change or your custom. I'm not saying you should abolish your custom, but you have to understand that.
Keep it at a tolerable rate.
Yes.
Especially when you're going to need service and assistance
from
them.
So take time just to get to learn and to know their custom.
So in summary, do your research, stay connected with your family.
Yes.
Visit often. And weigh the option. Like if you left your country say you left for a better life. Measure where you are. Did you acquire that better life?
Right.
And if your reasoning of going back is because you have accomplished what you came
to accomplish, yes, and did you actually accomplish what you sought out to do?
And then the other thing, the other thing is that if you have left your country for other means rather than just seeking a better life. Some of us left because you have to seek refuge.
Right.
Then you have to consider those things when you're looking to go back.
Yeah.
Is it safe?
Our folks who came here as a kid, they have no choice because their parents may be here and they migrate to the US or to wherever you're coming to. So some folks never have a choice but to migrate wherever their parents are. And you may reach, as I said, because when we do our research, it seems like 30-something is one of the biggest sweep now of people who are moving.
The age range.
That's the age range, 30-something. They're the biggest age range that is moving back to
wherever they are.
Yes, where the parents or grandparents
and you know what stems most of it to? COVID and that isolation. That
I think it make a big change in a lot of folks' life.
Not being able to step out in your backyard, or some people don't have a backyard, and so that's where they are being forced to look back to their country where they're from, just in case another situation
may occur.
COVID happens.
Yes, so they want to get accustomed to everything, and it's good to have roots. It's good to have roots. Don't just throw. When I was younger, they always said, "Don't throw stone behind you. Don't burn your bridges." In other words,
yes.
So you need to have where you're coming from. Just don't burn bridges that you can't return there, because it may happen that you may have to return.
You may need that bridge to cross.
You may need to cross over again. So so don't burn that bridge where you're coming from, and always
measure how you leave.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of tears and sadness when you leave. So you think about those. And you stay connected with your family, but don't just disappear and then out of the blue, I'm gonna head home. Home is gonna be scary.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be comfortable because you don't know it. So let us know your comment, your views on this conversation. Remember, we are going somewhere on this topic, so stay tuned for the other videos. And as always, thanks for watching.